call to order the Ashland Board of Commissioners meeting for Thursday, November 16th, 2023. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance and then, invocation and then Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Lord, we invite your Holy Spirit into our meeting today to preside over our proceedings. We thank you for our wonderful city and how you've blessed us over the last few years and even recently. We ask for your wisdom and guidance over this Board of Mayor and Commissioners as we strive to make the right decisions for our city and its people. Bless our city manager, our staff and employees, and especially those in attendance today. We pray always in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Let us stand. Gentlemen, please uncover and salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do we have a motion to receive and file the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, hearings and reports. Commissioners, if you will allow me first today. First off, welcome everyone. This is our only meeting scheduled for November, and we wish all of you a happy Thanksgiving. It's been a great year for us as a city, and we're thankful to all of our city employees. In fact, this morning we unveiled our last and newest playground in Oliverio Park by Waterworks. And it's all inclusive, so kids with special abilities can even participate with their brothers and sisters and classmates and players, if you will, if they're playing baseball. So it's exciting for us to see over $1.5 million put into our playgrounds and parks so that all of our playgrounds are updated to meet the needs of our citizens and the children in our community. Also, on behalf of Commissioner Spriggs, at her request, I have a proclamation to read today. Whereas the City of Ashland celebrates the rich and diverse cultures, traditions, and contributions of Native Americans who have shaped the history of our region and its lands, and whereas Native American Heritage Month is an opportunity to honor and recognize the significant influence of Native Americans on the social, cultural, and economic development of our community and country, and whereas the City of Ashland is committed to promoting understanding, respect, and appreciation of Native American cultures and histories, now therefore I, Matthew Perkins, do proclaim the month of November as Native American Heritage Month in our city. We encourage all residents to join in celebrating and learning about the heritage and contributions of Native Americans to our community. All right, we'll start with our commission. Commissioner Clark.
Gonna let me go first
Yes.
this time. Thank you everyone for coming. We have a full house today and a pretty packed agenda, so I'll keep my comments brief. Just a reminder to everyone that Pink Weekend starts tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, a collaboration between Ashland, Russell, Boyd, and Greenup County, 46 businesses participating in the Pink Weekend for a Shop Local initiative. So check out, visit aky.com/Pink Weekend for more details. That was like a commercial. And that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Blanton.
Well, thank you all. Thank you all for being here this afternoon. We attended the lighting ceremony for the Winter Wonderland of Lights kickoff, and I just want to say thank you so much to that committee. It was our first year with our little one, being able to know what was going on, and you know, experiencing it that way, you kind of get a sense for why that's so special to our citizens. So I appreciate that committee. We had a new business open in South Ashland, Trinity Boutique. We attended that ribbon cutting. It's a great little shop there in the revitalized area of South Ashland. Commissioner Clark mentioned the Pink event, and I just want to say thanks to our economic development staff and Visit AKY, who are continuing to communicate. Obviously, we have the construction downtown. I go that way every single day, back and forth from work, just to see exactly what's going on, and also commend our staff, engineering, everyone who's a part of that project and the communication for that. And thank you to our businesses as well. That's all I have.
All right. Commissioner Spriggs.
Hello, everybody. It's good to see the full commission chambers. I invite you to come back again and keep up on what's going on in your local government. It means a lot to us to see people who are interested in what we're doing and take an interest in their community. The only other thing I have is I would like to thank everybody, employees, my fellow commissioners, for the good wishes, flowers and prayers for my brother. It really means a lot to me, and I didn't mean to cry. Jeez. So thank you.
All right. Commissioner Goode.
I just wanted to just piggyback your remarks. The ribbon cutting was wonderful. Please go up and check out that new inclusive playground. I'm at the dog park every day. The one behind the dog park is used, I mean, there was 30 kids on there yesterday, so the playgrounds are very well appreciated. The Winter Wonderland of Lights was great on Monday night, and we gave a key to the city and a proclamation to Marion Russell. Very well deserved. He is Mr. Christmas around here. And
he looks like it.
And he looks
Santa.
He looks like Santa. And I want to remind everybody, the Christmas parade is Tuesday with a new route, okay? So don't get confused. It's going to be posted online, isn't it?
It should be, yes.
Should be posted online. You leave the park on Montgomery, you go down by Crab, you turn left on Central, and go right on 14th to Carter, and it's going back to Carter to 22nd Street and back to the park. So you'll see it online, but don't miss the Christmas parade. I want to say kudos to the performing art. Our Paramount is wonderful. They've had hundreds of variety of music, and I was with some of the people on the platform here to the Beach Boys. My gosh, the line was back to Fat Patty's. The only longer line it was that night was to the men's room during the intermission. But the Beach Boys were wonderful. And I'm trying to find that medication that singer has. He's 82 years old. And so, but it was a great time. I won't see you until the December meeting, but happy Thanksgiving to everybody. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Commissioner.
Mayor, can
Yes.
I add one thing to Commissioner's comment?
Sure.
You're talking about the Paramount Festival of Trees and Trains starts on Friday and runs through the 26th, I think. Okay, I think 26th. But
think
anyway,
that sounds
starts
right,
on
yeah.
Friday, so go
Yeah.
check that out too.
All right. On our agenda today, we do have a special guest. We have the Salvation Army for a presentation. This time, would the representatives from the Salvation Army come forward? Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you guys for having us out today. We appreciate it very much. My name is Chris Head. I'm the Divisional Resource Development Director for the Kentucky-Tennessee Division of the Salvation Army. With me today is Major Swain. Major Swain is our Corps officer here in Ashland, serving your community. So I would like to start today by simply saying thank you. Thank you to all of you who have really contributed to our ability to serve this community over the past few years, especially during COVID. You've given us funding through different avenues to continue our operation and really support the individuals who are homeless and who need our services over the past few years. So I do want to start my comments by saying thank you. We know what you've done to support us, and we're grateful for it. So my job today is very simple. I'm just here to share the impact that we're having here in the community. I'll do that through a few stats through the presentation, but Major Swain's really going to talk about the impact, the emotional impact that we're having here in the community. So, as you know, the Salvation Army mission statement, it's very simple. It's to meet human need in God's name without discrimination. And we do that every day in your community. Our core building is at 2212 Carter Avenue. That building does many, many things. We operate all of our social services and case management out of that building. There's a thrift store, there's a shelter, and most importantly, at this time of year, there's a Christmas warehouse in that building. You know us. You're going to see us in the next few weeks as we come along with you. You'll see our kettles in front of the Walmarts and the grocery stores, and I encourage everybody in this room to support that. All that money stays local. 82 to 86 cents of every dollar that goes in that kettle goes straight to our programs. We have the lowest overhead in the nation. Mm-hmm. You know us because I just said we have a Christmas warehouse. Our angel tree is coming up. Last year we had 180 kids. This year we have 280 kids. The need is great. There are many kids that we are going to give Christmas to through the best of our abilities. and we're excited to provide that service for Ashland. These stats are from 2022. Our fiscal year runs October to September, so we just closed out our fiscal year. We'll have updated stats here soon, but I can assure you every stat that I may speak to today has doubled in this community. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. In 2022, we gave out almost 1,800 items of clothing, whether it's coats, socks, underwear, pants, shirts, to those in need in our community that came from our thrift store. Our shelter provided almost 6,200 nights of shelter for those that are in need here in the community, those who are homeless, those who needed emergency shelter, maybe a transient passing through, but we helped everybody we could, and our shelter stayed full. We've given out 9,000 meals to our shelter residents, to those in need who walk down the street and are hungry. And we've even kicked up our ability to give food boxes to families having trouble meeting ends, who just need an extra meal along the month so they can pay their utility bill. One of the biggest changes that you've seen from the Salvation Army in the past couple years is we're moving away from a handout model. We're moving more towards a hand-up model. We're here to solve problems these days. We do that through two various programs. Our first program is LifeNav. This is specifically for individuals, whether it's a man or a woman, doesn't have a family, it's an individual. And we really go into a deeper case management model. We want to solve people's problems. We want to take them from crisis to self-sufficiency. It doesn't matter if it takes a week or a year or 2 years. Our goal is to walk alongside a person until we know that they can be self-sufficient and be a contributor to society. Our pathway of hope is for families struggling in and out of homelessness, couch surfing, living with family relatives. It's the same holds true for this program. We will work with a family for as long as it takes to get them self-sufficient, to get them in a home, and for their ability to continue to be self-sufficient down the road. We're trying not to have people come back to us month after month or year after year asking for our assistance. We want to solve their problems. Some cases, it's just paying off some bad debt. Other cases, it's getting them education to have a job. Maybe it's as simple as getting them a driver's license or a birth certificate. We don't know what each family needs, but we dive into it through a series of questionnaires, interviews, and true friendship and relationship building, because we want to solve people's problems. I talked about our food boxes. This is a growing program for us. Obviously, everybody's seen the spike in groceries, the inflation. It hurts those less fortunate even more. And so this is a program we've been building throughout the year. We do offer disaster relief services, whether that's with a tornado, a fire, whatever happens. We're here to serve those in the community who may have been inflicted by something like that. Our ministry programs throughout the week, Salvation Army provides church services on Sunday, and we encourage a relationship with our Lord. How you can help? This time of year, we need volunteer bell ringers. I encourage each of you to sign up, be a part of our efforts in the community. Again, I want to come back and thank you. You've been strong supporters for our efforts here in the community. You've seen some of that impact here, but now I really want you to feel it. So Major Swain, jump up here.
I don't know if you know the date that the Salvation Army arrived in Ashland. Anybody know? Aha, educational moment. 1909. Let me say that again, 1909. And I just found out that there actually was another date. We had a small group of about 5 people who came in 1883 and tried to see if something was going on. And they stayed in basic, the area, till about 1885. There was stuff going on nationally in the Army that made them kind of change their mind. So the Army was here in 1883. Wow. I just found that out just a few days ago in an article in the Courier Journal from Louisville talking about Ashland Salvation Army having changing its name and all this kind of stuff. But we really arrived in 1909, and we've been here ever since, serving those folks in our community, and we're still doing it today. This is our busy season. We're out and about. You know, you see everywhere you go, you see us or you hear us, and you might do what I do is like, oh, those bells are still ringing in my head, but that's fine. That we get people's attention, and we're part of the Christmas season. We're part of the community. We've helped families. We've helped individuals. We are open at our shelter 365 days a year. I was just talking to Mike Maynard back here. We were talking about Thanksgiving Day. Are we going to be open all day? And the answer to that is yes. On these major holidays when everything else is closed, we stay open. We provide a place for people to come and hang out. We provide dinner for them on that day to give just some normalcy in their life on that special holiday. We'll be open on Christmas Day. We'll give some gifts out. New Year's Day, all those days we're open 365 days a year. We increase our population on those cold days. When it gets to be 32, we put out cots and have more people stay with us up to a certain point. You know, we do have our limits. And there are days, especially last year, you remember those couple of days when it was negative 23, negative 24. We filled our place as best as we could on those days. I just want to tell you a real quick story, and then I'll be finished. And again, thank you from our local board. I have some board members here who are coming to see what's going on. A real quick story. We had a family come in about a year and a half ago, and one of the girls became sick, and we found out that it was COVID, and then the boy got sick, and then the teenager got sick, and then the baby got sick, and then the mom got sick. And the dad, we had to move him. He didn't want to be sick because he was working. And so he moved into the men's dorm. The family stayed back over here. Every day he would bring them lunch, and he would bring them dinner if he could, and knock on the door and leave it at the door. This is in our shelter. He would go back, and so he wouldn't get sick. Unfortunately, he got sick. So then he moved back into with the family, and then they each in turn got better. They stayed with us. Normally you can only stay for 30 days. They stayed with us for 60 days because they just were ill for about 2 or 3 weeks. We had to sanitize that room when they left, but they did leave because they found a place to stay. And they moved out, and again, a family of 6. And they found a place to stay. And recently, the dad popped back in to say thank you for that time when his whole family was sick. And he really appreciated that we didn't say to them, hey, you're at 30 days, get out. That they could stay longer than they could. They're doing well, he told us just not long ago. So that's the impact we're having. Just one story out of many thousands that we have. Again, thank each and every one of you who've helped us throughout the year. I hope we continue to have a good relationship with the city, and we'll still be here up on Carter Avenue doing our thing. So stop by and see us anytime you want.
Well, thank you. First off, on behalf of this board and behalf of this city, we sincerely thank you. The unhoused in our community would have no place to go if it were not for what you've been able to provide. And especially during times like these when it's getting colder, we're definitely more mindful that people need to be inside, warm, with safe place to stay and with their families. So thank you. And I also want to personally thank the volunteers on your board in this community. I know they're here today. I think a lot of them as individuals and collectively when they come together, they do amazing things, and supporting the Salvation Army is a worthy cause for sure, and so we're very appreciative. Thank you all and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
All right, we're going to move on to our city manager's report.
Can you bring up the slides, please? Got a variety of different things. One, before I forget, there is low water pressure at certain areas of the city. Contractors hit a 16 and a 24-inch line in front of the water plant. We're expecting that to be fixed by the end of the day. My note to anybody in the community is if you don't have water at all, please call up the water plant. So they're tracking that. But a lot of citizens are going to experience low water until that gets repaired. Next, please. I wanted to bring something to everyone's attention. Steve Alley and the deputy chief coordinated a insurance service officer training with the regional lady. Her name is Cassandra. I forgot her last name, but it was held at the Ashland Fire Department. And that's just a few of the people that attended this training. If you all keep up with this, you know that Ashland's earned a level 2 rating. The highest is 1. There's less than 5% of departments in the nation that get this rating, and it's a combination of our fire department's ability to respond to crisis that they have, and also the ability of our water systems to provide adequate water to deal with fires. To get that level 2 rating is really quite a challenge, but this is Will and Chief Alley's effort to get us to that 1 so that we understand the standards even better than we have in the past. We had water representation there yesterday. Normally they go on 5-year cycles, but talking about a good attitude, Chief is convinced Cassandra to come back potentially in the next year to where we can compete for level 1. So I wanted to publicly recognize the fire department and their efforts to continue to try to pursue excellence. Next. This is the work that's being done on the culvert on Oakview. And as I mentioned before in the past, the board, you all approve a lot of money to go to a lot of projects, and this has been a thorn in the side of the community for quite a bit of time, the drop. But I was just out there visiting the other day and took a couple pictures. You see the head wall in the center of the center picture, and then you see the device on the far left that's going to take in a lot of the storm water, et cetera. So we expect this to be done in the next couple weeks. They're making great progress. And to the inconvenience for the citizens, we appreciate it. You all adjusting your schedule, but this is a very important project. Next. A lot of accolades that go around for a lot of people that make a lot of stuff happen. I just took this picture of the cruise the other night. These are just a portion of the team, the parks team, that puts up the Winter Wonderland of Lights. You know, and for those of you who've been in the community, you know that effort starts in October. And we hear a lot of comments about why do you do that? Well, they couldn't get it up if they didn't start that early. And then, Mayor, thanks for recognizing some of those same folks today at the ribbon cutting. Mayor had those cut the ribbon for the playground. Also, I'd be neglected to not mention the rest of the staff that has a hand in it, but these are some of the folks that are behind the scenes. Next. Okay. One other topic, I'd like to thank the Boyd County Health Department for their use of the Carroll Jackson Center. Brought to my attention that they recently did HIV testing. 45 folks in the community were able to get tested there. The Pollard Road Phase 3 project is going exceptionally well. If you drive by there, the sidewalk is in. They should be paving in the very near future. And I believe that's all I have, Mayor.
Okay.
It's all that.
All right.
Yeah.
At this time, we're going to start public participation. Anyone with a comment or request may come to the podium and address the commission concerning matters related to city business, services, or personnel. Comments related to election issues or concerning personal disputes will not be allowed. Personal attacks, obscene or threatening language will not be tolerated. Presentations are limited to 5 minutes. A yellow light indicates 30 seconds remain, and a red light means the time limit has expired. Only one speaker is permitted per subject. No action will be taken at this meeting. Those with comments are asked to fill out an inquiry form and leave it with the city clerk for distribution to the proper city department. Would anybody at this time like to come forward?
Mine will be short and brief.
Okay.
We got the flags on the Veteran Cemetery. We put out 1,836 flags. Frank, the director of the cemetery, said by Memorial Day next year, we'll hit 2,000, easy.
Awesome.
And on December the 2nd, we'll be putting the wreaths on the cemetery.
Awesome. Thank
That's
you
all I
so
got.
much. Appreciate it. Would anybody else like to come forward at this time?
Hello, everyone. I'm Kathy Mead, and my comments today will be short, so you're welcome. This is in reference to our city manager's salary increase.
Okay.
So I usually don't come to these types of meetings, but the amount of money proposed for the increase is a lot, and it's insulting. It's insulting to the 60-some% of our citizens that are below poverty level. it's insulting to us as taxpayers because we pay dearly to live in this wonderful city. You guys do a very good job, and I like you, Mr. City Manager. We've met a couple of times. So I'm not looking for an argument or contention, but I would like to propose some solutions to alleviate this. Instead of increasing the city cost, let's look at maybe decreasing the city cost or decreasing city taxes. So regarding the salary increase, I would like to propose 3 potential solutions. You don't come to a meeting with problems without a solution, right?
Yay.
So the 3 ideas that I have, and there may be more because we all have brains and we can collaborate, that we extend his contract for another year and review the compensation package, maybe negotiate to something less than $33,000 increase. Or we could, the second option is to open the position up for a new candidate for the job. Or my favorite is that he graciously stay in his current position without an increase. So it's been a concern, and a lot of people absolutely went berserk when they read in the paper the potential $33,000 increase. And some friends of mine, we put together a petition on Tuesday, 2 days ago. So 48 hours is not a whole lot to gather a lot of signatures. But we have approximately 100 signatures here where people are concerned about this increase in your salary, sir. So that's basically my remarks. And one other thing, since you're elected officials, except for our manager, that this will be a grand thing to campaign against you if you should seek re-election, right? Because people are very upset about this. When, the median income for the city is $45,000. That's the average. There's a site out on the World Wide Web called city-data.com, and it has lots of really good statistics. And one of the most depressing statistics, which was reflected by the Salvation Army's presentation, is that 60-some% of our citizens are below poverty level. So when they see this huge increase for a city employee, it doesn't sit well with them. And we would probably have gotten more signatures if we didn't have to listen to the people who were willing to sign this within the past 48 hours. We heard lots of complaints. I'm not a city official, right? But they were like, go, Kathy, go give them heck. Go tell them what you think. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go pick a fight, but I am voicing the concern for these 100 people and my own concern. So that's it. Would anyone like to receive the signatures?
You can give them to the city clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kathy.
All right, would anybody else like to come forward at this time?
Before I begin, I would like the clerk to receive a handout I printed out for all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioners, and good afternoon. My name is Flynn Fazikis, and I am a member of the Kentucky People's Union. I work with them because I believe there is power in numbers, and it is very important to surround yourself with like-minded individuals while fighting for a positive cause. In this case, that cause is safe and affordable housing. It took me 3 months to find an apartment here in Ashland. I was given the runaround by several landlords and Bruce Apartments, but thankfully Scope Towers had availability. However, before I started even looking at income-based housing, I was looking at potential rental properties in the city. It was an incredibly frustrating process because I am disabled and cannot drive, along with the fact that I had to use rental websites to find anything. That is why I'm here today to speak on the rental registry. There needs to be something in place to make the search for safe, affordable housing less of an uphill battle. Kentucky People's Union has gathered 555 petition signatures. That is 100 more since we last spoke. And what is the problem? We've spoken with our city commissioners, our mayor, city staffers, and asked them all, why hasn't this been enforced as written? At first, there was some confusion about the ordinance, what it allows and what it doesn't. Then we heard there was a lack of coordination between departments to implement the rental registry. We want to understand, why can't the city just send landlords notice that they need to register their properties? Why isn't it public when finding housing is this difficult right now? In the handout provided, you'll find a list of subsections from the Ashland Code of Ordinances. Included is confidentiality subsection 102.04. It should be stricken and replaced with a section outlining how the city should publish the registry. Here's what we're asking for. 1, perform a fiscal assessment of what it would take to enforce the rental registry. 2, enforce the rental registry that you all passed in 2021. 3, publish the rental registry on ashlandky.gov so the public can see what landlord owns what properties, what their contact information is, what is available for rent, and what is not. The handout also includes definitions from subsection 102.01 and the enforcement policy outlined in subsection 102.05. One last thing I would like to mention is that I recently received a notice from from Scope Towers about the flat rent increase, and it will be steeply increasing as of January 1st of next year. This is also something I believe that should be included in the rental registry, as price increases will cause people to move either out of necessity or just due to unfair pricing. We all deserve safe homes. There is an obvious power imbalance between landlords and tenants. We want to close that gap so we can live dignified lives and landlords can be held accountable. I do want to note that I adore Ashland. I've lived here for a year, beautiful city, wouldn't live anywhere else. And I appreciate the beautification efforts of this city. But I want people to live here and thrive here, and finding housing is the foundation of that. As I stated before, it took me 3 months to find an apartment. Some people don't have that time, and I firmly believe a rental registry would alleviate the time constraints along with several other hardships people searching for housing face. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
Okay, thank you. Would anybody else like to come forward at this time? Anybody else like to come forward at this time?
Good afternoon. My name is David Williams, and I just had a couple quick notes here. On new business, item number C deals with an ordinance of City of Ashland regarding the line of authority and responsibility between elected officials, city manager, and city employees. And then if there's no understanding of what that means, just a big proponent of the responsibility laying with the elected officials. You're there because we voted for you, and we trust you to do the right thing by us. And that's the way we've run our government for years. And so if there's anything contrary, which I don't see in details in that, I would like us to understand that that's a big deal to a lot of us. That, one thing we want is, in my particular, I want smaller government. I don't want somebody making decisions that my elected officials aren't making. And I know Ms. Kathy has already spoken about item D, but I have some statistics if you would like to hear some things about that. Is that okay?
Go right ahead.
Okay, one of the things, You know, I've worked 30 years with Marathon, so I've got a lot of insight on how corporate runs their salary increases. And like I said, Mr. Gracie, you seem to be a really nice guy. Every time I've talked to you, you've been very hospitable to me. But this is more of a, what kind of precedent are we setting here? And so we just need to know that. But a 25% increase, wow, that's big. That's like somebody at Marathon getting a real promotion. I mean, and I don't know that you're getting a promotion. You're pretty much staying with the same responsibilities. I had difficulty finding this contract. But we'll talk more about that later. But anyway, if I look at, lady was just now mentioning about housing. Well, let's talk about, if we looked at, I'm assuming that maybe our lowest paid employee makes $10 an hour. Maybe not, maybe. But if I'm assuming that's $20,000 a year, what you're asking for is 10 or 8 times what the lowest paid employee was. And we're capitalists, and we should get what we need and what we deserve. And so I'm for that. That just seems excessive for our town. And, you know, I didn't have much time to really, somebody brought this up, and you know, I find myself saying, well, you know, if you don't say something, how can you complain later, right? Mm-hmm. And so my question is we have the Kentucky League of Cities, great organization. Have you guys, they do a salary survey every year. Was that part of the decision? And so what is the ranking of Mr. Gracie's current salary in relation to and when I look at not just big cities and small cities, I'm looking at, you know, cities that are relatively close to ours. I mean, we should publish that. We should make that aware of, hey, that's part of your decision making. And if he's behind and he needs to be there, then that sounds reasonable. But if it's not, if it's excessive, you know, we need to know that too, right? I know that 2 superintendents for the 2 local school districts, Ashland and Boyd County, public record. You can go out there on the internet and research it. One makes $36,000, one makes $40,000. You're right now kind of in that. Maybe you kind of get a little bump and you kind of get where you're at, because I think the same responsibilities are, you know, kind of in there. You know, these superintendents have a tough job. You know, they got all these children and parents, and I mean, I don't know that you've got that kind of headache when it comes to that. But nonetheless, we need to look at what those type of positions are.
Excuse me, David, did you mean 136 and 140?
136,000,
Yeah.
140,000.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
Yeah. So we know that, and here again, I don't know. I don't know what you hired in at, but every job at Marathon it's a grade level, you know, and Ms. Clark should know this. She's a corporate industrialist. She knows where we're at. Each job has a grade level and a salary that follows that grade level. And so no matter what the inflation is, you may get that salary range to defer a little bit, but for the most part, it's going to stay the same. And I've known people that would stay in a job for 10 plus years, longer. But they never got, the closer they got to the end of their salary grade or into their salary range, they just didn't get much of a raise. And it's just, it really follows on where we're at on the salary range. Now, I see a red light up there. That bothers me. So I don't want to do that. So, but anyway, I think I've hit the point. But the key to it is trying to understand comparisons. And we don't see that. That should be open. That should be part of transparency. And God love him. If he's our number one, and I'm not trying to make jokes about that, but you've always treated me well. But I'm also looking at it from the standpoint, if we give you a 25% raise, next thing you know, every manager, every superintendent is going to say, I want a 25% raise. And my point of it is we're a struggling city. Person was just talking about housing, and I can admit to that. That's a tough situation there. But let's just be open and transparent about how these decisions, and it's always the top person. Unfortunately, you know, you're at the top, and you get all the people come out and want to talk about that. But it has a trickle-down effect. But anyway, appreciate your time. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
All right. Would it,
I'll make this short and sweet. For the last 10 years, I've been doing the pledge at this meeting. I feel like what Mike Greasy gets, he deserves it. Shouldn't be asked no questions or nothing. He deserves it. That's all I got.
Okay.
would anybody else like to come forward at this time? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to old business.
Old business item A, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to submit the City of Ashland's 2017 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Annual Action Plan Amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval and implementation."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
That
and
was
I-
my, that was my discussion.
Okay,
Discussion.
all right. I abstain.
Item B, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to submit the City of Ashland's 2018 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Annual Action Plan Amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval and implementation."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Item C, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to submit the City of Ashland's 2019 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan Amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval and implementation."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Item D, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to submit the City of Ashland's 2020 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Annual Action Plan Amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval and implementation."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Item E, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to submit the City of Ashland's 2021 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Annual Action Plan Amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval and implementation."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Item F, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to submit the City of Ashland's 2022 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Annual Action Plan Amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval and implementation."
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Item G, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to submit the City of Ashland's 2023 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Annual Action Plan Amendment to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for approval and implementation."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Item H, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a professional services contract between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Palmer Engineering for professional engineering services for the construction, inspection, construction administration for the 7th Street to 13th Street and the 18th Street to 22nd Street roadway streetscape improvements in the amount of $105,000 for the Department of Engineering."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item I, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute professional services contract between the City of Ashland, Kentucky and Palmer Engineering for professional engineering services for the construction, inspection, construction administration for the 13th Street to 18th Street roadways and streetscape improvements in the amount of $105,000 for the Department of Engineering."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item J, second reading and final adoption of an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a professional services contract between the City of Ashland, Kentucky, Palmer Engineering for professional engineering services for the construction, inspection, construction administration for the 13th Street to 18th Street roadway streetscape improvements in the amount of $140,000 for the Department of Engineering."
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Consent agenda. A resolution of the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting, authorizing, and approving the course of action presented by the city manager on the items appearing on the consent agenda for the regular meeting of the Board of City Commissioners of November 16th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
New business, item A, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting the revised job description for the position of school resource officer in the Department of Police, Parks and Recreation Director in the Department of Parks and Recreation, and water plant operator. 3A in the Department of Utilities, and the classification and compensation plan is adopted. Ordinance number 31, series of 2023, as previously amended.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item B, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance to the City of Ashland, Kentucky adopting the Housing Choice Voucher Program payment standards for the City of Ashland Community and Economic Development Department, Division of Assisted Housing, Section 8, effective January 1, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Item C, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky regarding the line of authority and responsibility between elected officials, city manager, and all city employees.
May I make a comment?
Well, first we need a motion.
All right.
Second.
Okay. Now discussion.
Okay. Because this is one of 3 items that was delivered to the city commission as an ultimatum for the employment of city manager, and we've not yet done his evaluation, I would like to make a motion that we move this to the next meeting.
A second.
Okay, we have a second on the floor. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
And I will actually vote opposed.
In that case, I would like to make a motion that we accept the city manager's resignation letter that he sent us the day after we received these.
City manager never sent a resignation letter.
Oh, I have it right here.
Yes, you do. The letter you referred to was related to the concerns about whether to continue negotiating the contract. It was not a resignation. Nowhere in that letter is the word resignation used.
Given the circumstances described in this letter, I conclude there are no alternatives for me to provide the BOC this letter as formal notification that I can no longer continue good faith negotiations on a future contract.
Exactly. The contract requires good faith negotiations.
Excuse me, let me finish.
Well.
Let me finish. I can no longer continue good faith negotiations on a future contract, and if it still be your desire, I will diligently serve out the terms of my contract until 31 January 2024. That is a resignation letter.
My legal opinion, that is not a resignation letter. The contract in question required both the city and the city manager to inform the other party if they did not intend to negotiate in good faith. Initially, there was no such notification from the city or the city manager. That letter constituted a notification at that time that the city manager was not going to continue in good faith negotiations. That is all it was.
I can no longer continue with good faith negotiations. There's been no negotiation.
That's exactly what the words.
This has been the poorest, the most awful situation I've ever seen. And I want to say this. This is not personal. I don't care who was sitting in this seat. I would have the same feeling, whatever city manager it was. But this was delivered to us by the police chief the Friday after, and he's laid it out in here. This is a letter of resignation.
You can characterize it any way you want.
I'd like to go on record to state that was not a letter of resignation.
Well, what is it?
What's a formal notification?
Because
you
by
don't-
law, he had to give that to us.
By contract,
But
either
by
party was
contract,
required to
sorry.
notify the other if they did not intend to continue in good faith negotiations at that time. That's what that letter did.
okay, so if he's not, we're not negotiating, what's that mean?
You don't know what negotiate means?
If we're not,
Oh, God.
yeah, he's insulted us before, so here we go. What does it mean if he's not negotiating? If we're not negotiating, what's that mean?
It means that at that time, he indicated an intention not to continue negotiations on a contract.
Okay.
At that
well,
time.
So what's that mean? We're not negotiating the contract, so he has none.
The contract remains in full force and effect.
Till
if in
January
fact-
31st.
If in fact, the proposed ordinance which would approve a new contract is approved by this body, then it will be up to the city manager to determine whether he was going to accept that contract or not.
We have not negotiated this contract, and we're going to be voting on the part of that next.
Commissioner,
not
I may be wrong here, but part of the reason it's on the agenda is it's part of the negotiation to discuss this in public so that we can then have on record how we feel about this contract.
Well, I mean, I get that, but we're going to be voting on it.
First
Correct,
reading.
but that-
Voting on it, that's not a negotiation.
If there's a
like
first-
we have when we talk about contracts, a contract before. I mean, it was brought to us, here it is. These are the three things I need to have, and I'm giving them to you now, so you will have enough time to find somebody. That was his exact words in city commission,
Oh,
in the executive.
I would just mention that it's been quite a bit of time since that first happened, so, you know.
Yeah, and we've, go
Sure,
ahead.
listen, we can all have our opinions about this, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But one of the reasons for coming to us so early was so we could go through this. Now, we may have different opinions, but that was one of the reasons of giving us the time to consider this. So now we're in almost end of November, so.
And we
I
have
mean,
one meeting left.
So we have one meeting, I think, in December also, so.
We have two in January, and his contract's up January 31st, so I think this is, it's really rushed. I don't feel comfortable. We haven't really discussed the other things that are in the contract. There are other items in there as well.
Well, right now, we're not on the contract, we're on the ordinance.
All right,
But
all right.
first, okay, I'd like to make a statement
Is it about this item that,
Yeah.
but it's connected because they're all connected. C and D are connected because it was the ultimatum given to us. But I'd like to preface this by my remarks by saying, one thing in life that you can't argue with is personal experience. And we have gone through this personal experience. When people take the podium, that's their personal experience. They own it. And I experienced the same letter that you all got, the same letter that we thought was a resignation, I thought was a resignation. And the other thing I learned many years ago from my predecessor, Steve Gilmore, do the right thing. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And there's nothing right about this. There's nothing right about this ordinance. There's nothing right in having a first reading on a salary, this $33,000 bump, and you haven't negotiated. You haven't even done the evaluations yet. It's backwards. It's totally backwards. A first reading on something that you may not come to. You may not come to that salary until you've gone through the evaluations. I received this letter, like the rest of you, on October 13th. We've been previously given an ultimatum by the city manager to adopt this ordinance limiting direct commission access to city employees,
That's not.
to give the city manager a deputy within 12 months, and to give the city manager a $33,000 raise. I oppose all three, and I still do. I have been privileged to serve 8 terms as a city commissioner. In that time, the board had 5 city managers. The city manager is our chief administrative officer. The board, as the legislative and executive authority for the city, establishes policy, and the city manager carries it out. Routinely, the board requests preparation of ordinances to implement the board's policy. This ordinance was not requested by the board. This ordinance was requested by the city manager, not by us. There is nothing that I found in KRS 83A 150 that prohibits an elected official from direct contact with a staff member or city employee. In my capacity as an elected official, it's critical that I have, that I can contact city employees. I do every day. I'm in this city building every day. I'm in the parks every day. It's critical that I have the unrestrained option of discussing city issues with staff and the city employees on interests affecting citizens or employees. The General Assembly has not limited that ability. If the Kentucky legislature had seen the need to limit elected official access, it would have done so, and this ordinance would not be necessary. I want to ask the crowd here, do you think state legislators would limit their right to discuss state issues with state agencies or state employees? You can be assured that
And
there's
neither,
not a
and neither
similar,
does this ordinance, by
Yes,
the way.
yes.
There's absolutely no language in this ordinance that says that.
you can be assured that there's not a similar ordinance that's been adopted by any other city in Kentucky. This ordinance has been adopted by no other city in Kentucky. I'm surprised that the majority of the board feel the need in any way to limit these contacts. Each of us has the individual discretion to limit their interactions with employees. That's their choice. The idea that before I can contact a staff member or city employee, I first have to go through the city manager is unnecessary and totally inappropriate. The city manager works for us, not the reverse. I feel that my ability to approach city employees with citizen concerns and to hear employees' concerns about their jobs is something that's not negotiable. It's hard to understand that the proposed ordinance does not make exception for legal or financial staff. The detrimental effect to the elected officials is significant. Before the meeting, you may have got one of these. I passed them out to everybody before I had to sit down. It's a copy of the city directory. To all our guests, I handed them out. I handed these out routinely over the years. It gives the average citizen immediate access to all city departments, department heads, as they should have. And so under this ordinance, the elected officials are limited in their speech and content. The average citizen has the freedom to discuss anything they want. It's kind of backwards. This ordinance is senseless. It redefines the job of city commissioner. The original version that we got of what city manager wanted was to be able to censure us if we were caught talking to a city employee without his first, this was the first, that was the intent.
That's not
That
true.
was the intent.
That's not, it's just not true.
And then the second one we
Absolutely not
got,
true.
Commissioners,
the second one we got took
You'll
the
have
city
time.
manager
You'll have
out of it. And so now the censoring process would have to be among us city commissioners. That's divisive. If you have one city commissioner that had something against another one and he saw somebody talking in the hallway, they could get a majority and censure one of us.
We could do right now, actually.
It's censure one of us.
Commissioner.
That's dysfunctional. This ultimatum has fractured this commission, is what it's done. Talking about causing dissension and diversion, this ultimatum. So I'd like to ask the city manager, this was one of the ultimatums you gave us, was to pass this ordinance. If this ordinance was defeated, would that be a deal breaker? Would you still stay?
You've said a lot of things, Commissioner, that have been misrepresented 180 degrees out. I came to you in August, and I specifically did not say it was an ultimatum. I told you I was physically, mentally, and emotionally worn out from doing additional work from elected officials, giving directives to staff. Directives to staff.
I have never given a directive to staff.
I vehemently
Never.
disagree with you.
Never given a directive.
No.
In 15 years, I've never given a directive to
I
staff.
vehemently disagree with you, Commissioner. And I told you, I did not make a demands. You want to talk about the evaluations? In my contract, I'm supposed to have an evaluation every year. How many evaluations have I been given in 6.5 years?
We're talking about this ordinance right now, though.
I know, but he asked me a direct question, so I'm going to answer him.
That's not.
You
we're
made,
not-
no,
we're
he
not
made
answering
points,
what he asked.
Commissioner, so I'm going to answer the
Commissioner.
question.
let him
Not had a
respond. Let him
have not had an
respond. Let him
evaluation
respond.
in 6 years. I did not demand a deputy. I told you I would like you all to consider having a deputy.
Within
I
12
did the
months.
analysis, let me finish. I did the analysis on all the other Class 2 cities, and that's not uncommon. I asked you to consider it. The biggest thing was, and I did not give you something in August. I told you it was something that needed to be developed. And said, because of the day-to-day interaction that some commissioners have with this city staff, it's problematic for me to have command and control and the correct functionality of this staff. It is toxic. And you may not understand that. It is toxic. It is impossible to leave. So directly answer your question, yes, if this or some version of this doesn't get passed, and it may not be in Kentucky, Commissioner, it is in many other states, and the other states that I communicate with are shocked that it's not in here. I'll also tell you that my peers in KCCMA fully support this, and they're looking to try to add it to the KRS because they're facing some similar problems, especially in communities that have not been able to retain city managers. There's a cause and effect here. There's a reason that we turned over so many city managers in this city. So yes, if some version of this doesn't get approved, you'll receive my resignation.
So give me an example. Give me an example of what you're talking about then.
We have inquiries going on that are supposed to be confidential. I've received word from multiple elected officials, hey, you need to get on top of this because it's problematic with an employee. Why would an elected official know about that unless it was a direct conversation about the inquiry? I've had elected officials tell employees that they're a shoo-in for certain jobs when that's not true. I've had elected officials say, hey, don't worry, I'll have the Parks Department take care of that. That is direct interference in day-to-day operations of the
Never
staff.
said that.
Okay,
I didn't
whichever
say a
com-
name. I'm just
Whichever
saying.
commissioners did that, raise your hand.
Commissioner,
No, I'm going to the mat on this.
Can we give
okay?
our thoughts real quick?
yeah,
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, I'd like to
One-
make
Six and a
one
half
more-
years ago, if we were given this ultimatum when you came, or these options that you say, do you think we would have hired you? What's different today?
Kind of a rhetorical question, isn't
Well,
it?
I mean, what's different
The
today?
difference is I've been here 6.5 years and I've seen the impact that this had on the staff. This confuses the staff. The staff comes to me and say, well, I got this directive. I was told to have the police department go out to a certain location to do something. No citizen in this room would call up our elected body and say, I'm directing you to send the police
I
department
never
somewhere.
have done that, never.
I mean,
right.
all right.
all right. So, listen, you all had an opportunity to
No,
respond.
I'm not, I've got one more thing to say. Okay. He did say, if he didn't get these, I fully remember that. But this says, I take this job very seriously because it affects everybody in this city. And I know everybody else up here does as well. When we vote for ordinances, we have to be cognizant of the future as well. In my mind, this is a snake in the grass, and for ever how it might be determined, another lawyer comes along and reads it a different way. Now you've got more problems than you think. I don't think, now, I'd like to know what the staff thinks about this. They're involved. What happens if, my gosh, I talk to them about something, what happens with them? I have never ordered anybody, directed anybody to do anything. I've gone through city manager all the time on stuff, but here's my worry. City commissioners come and go, city managers come and go, this thing will be around. Now, what happens when we get a city commissioner who doesn't like another city commissioner?
Absolutely.
And they're constantly being drug up here to be
Censored.
publicly censored. Publicly censored. You know what? We could do that anyway. We could do it anyway because there's the thing called freedom of speech. I'm done.
All right, just real quick, before we continue this discussion, I'd like for the city attorney to actually read the ordinance in full so that the public
right.
may be aware of it as well.
Title is an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky regarding the line of authority and responsibility between elected officials, the city manager, and all city employees. Whereas pursuant to KRS 83A.150, the Board of Commissioners under the city manager form of local government consists of the mayor and the city commissioners, and whereas pursuant to KRS 83A.150, all legislative and executive authority of the city is vested in the Board of Commissioners, and whereas the Board of Commissioners can act only through its formal collective action agreed to and approved by a majority of its members present and voting at regular or called meetings of the commission, and whereas pursuant to KRS 83A.157 and 9, the city manager is charged with, among other duties, the supervision of all departments of city government and the conduct of all city employees and officers' employees, is the chief administrative officer and enforces the city manager plan, city ordinances, and applicable statutes. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the City of Ashland, Kentucky, Section 1, except for purposes of inquiry and information concerning city business, all elected officials of the City of Ashland, including the mayor and all city commissioners, shall communicate and deal with city officers and employees only through the city manager. No individual elected official acting otherwise than through formally adopted ordinances, municipal orders, or resolutions of the city commission shall give orders or directives to city employees or city officers or otherwise interfere with the managerial function of the city manager through any means, including without limitation, directing the making of public purchases or expenditures, directing the making of purchases from or contracts with specific organizations, or directing the appointment, promotion, discipline, or discharge of any employee or city officer under the supervision of the city manager. Now, Mayor, the city clerk is on vacation, and I don't have the most recent version. The one I'm reading from doesn't include the Section 2, if somebody's got that.
Oh, good.
Section 2,
Yeah, the one.
The newer, yeah, here we go.
I've got it.
Yeah, I've got it. Section 2, nothing contained herein shall be interpreted to prohibit conversations of a personal or social nature between the mayor and city commissioners and any city officers and employees. Section 3, any elected official of the city of Ashland violating any of the provisions of Section 1 hereof shall be subject to public censure upon a majority vote of commission members present and voting, finding a violation of Section 1 upon a complaint brought by the mayor or any commission member. Section 4, all ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, to the extent of such conflict only, are hereby repealed. Section 5, this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its adoption, readoption, and publication as required by law.
Okay. And Commissioners, would you all like to comment? Sure.
Go ahead.
Well, so as much as I like Mike as a person, I work for the citizens, and the citizens of the city have established the form of government that we have. And we have, maybe there's folks here that don't know. We should step back and explain, I suppose. We have a city manager form of government. You have the 4 commissioners and the mayor, and the day-to-day operations are handled by the city manager, right? These meetings exist really to make recommendations for us. Now, we can make our own proposals if we want to, but that's how it works, right? And so I equate this to, because I care about what the citizens are going to perceive when they hear this. And I equate it to my job. And when I am in my job and dealing with my staff, I have 50 people at my plant. I think sometimes, what if I had 5 bosses who snuck out on the plant floor? And I will say this, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt here because I don't want to go, I don't want to go to a bad place here. I really feel like mostly the intentions are good when these discussions can happen with the staff. These waters can get muddy sometimes, but that still undermines the leader. And so if those, and it may not even be the intention of the elected leader, but it still can present a problem. And it absolutely has presented a problem. I'm not going to sit here and list experience, what's happened and specific examples. I'm going to state my case and I'm going to vote. And this would not be an issue. It wouldn't come up with us today if it hadn't been something that's important to the city manager. And so I think it's our job to understand, why is that? And maybe we should say, why is this something that he would be willing to, I know what serving the city means to him. So if this is something that he's going to go to the mat for, why is that? Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, I'm going to sit here and list things. But the language in the ordinance absolutely does not forbid us to talk to city employees. Like, we would never give up the right to talk to city employees. We absolutely have that right. There is state law, KRS state law, that says we cannot direct employees, right? So there's actually been an argument, well, why do you even need this? Well, because it's gray areas. The language is not very clear in the state law. So if you want to keep that separation, I openly say, listen, I work. Like, I have a job. I don't come to the city building. I literally can't. Like, the city manager form of government is the reason I can serve in this position. But I have to trust the person who's in the job, right? And I'm not saying people don't trust him, but we've got to let him do his job. And I'm not saying anyone has bad intentions or trying to do anything bad, but the boss going to the person underneath their supervisors, it creates problems, and sometimes not intentional. Like I said, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt here. Sometimes it may not be intentional, but it does cause a problem, and we wouldn't be hearing it today in this situation if it wasn't a problem.
Thank you, and I'm going to just reiterate that to some degree. The language in this ordinance in no way prohibits communication between the commission and the staff. It codifies in the city state law that says that we cannot direct employees. We're not allowed to do that anyway. It's against our form of government. What it also does is put into our ordinance Robert's rules that we're allowed to do anyway. If I want to censure Commissioner Blanton, I can do that. I can bring that to this board, and by a unanimous vote, we could do that. We're allowed to do those things regardless. For me, the negotiation of this ordinance, because it is a fairly watered-down version from what Mr. Gracie presented us to start with. In fact, no offense, I don't understand why you're still okay with it, because it is watered down. However, I want Mr. Gracie to stay our city manager. I want him to be here. He's good for the city, he's good for the staff. We're doing good things. And it seems ridiculous to me that we are so divided on this issue when it really only outlines what our responsibilities are anyway.
I think it's ridiculous we're divided as well, because I don't see, I think it's unnecessary. And I
think
think
it's
it
necessary.
all these years, Ashland's existed without this and operated fine. I don't see anybody impeding our city man. Look, I want the city to do well. I've lived here all these years. I've been on commission. We all work hard. Everybody in this room, back there, everybody works hard to make this city go. I love this city. I want it to do well. But this smacks of something that I don't trust it, I don't like it, and I just can't be a part of it. I have to vote no.
All right.
Nobody's impeding the city manager doing his job. He's doing
We do,
his
though.
job.
We do,
Hang on,
though.
Hang on.
Well, then you tell me what you do to impede his job.
Can I,
What do I do?
let me have my
Yeah.
Sorry, Mayor.
opportunity. Appreciate it. I have read this ordinance. I too had concerns initially, and after hearing of the request of different board members, language was put in to include the ability to communicate openly and honestly with city employees. With that being said, I'm comfortable with this because to all of your all's points, we don't direct staff, and we're not going to direct staff, and it's going to be business as usual per this ordinance. So I am comfortable with this as long as I have the ability to communicate with my employees just as I would be able to communicate with my citizens. I assure you, if that language was not in there, commissioners, I would not support this. But I do support this with the language as amended. So with that, I would like to take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
No.
No.
All right.
Lost my agenda.
Did I take it? You got it.
Here it is. Item D, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an employment agreement between the City of Ashland and Michael Gracie regarding the continued employment as city manager.
So moved.
Second.
Because we have not
discussion.
given, yes, because we have not given the city manager an evaluation, and we did give him one in 2021. I have my copy right here with me, 2021. We have not given him an evaluation. I would like to make a motion to move this to the next meeting.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
And I am also opposed.
We are putting the cart before the horse here, doing the evaluation after this meeting while we're voting on a raise.
Well, first of all, I've never received any kind of notice or communication or letter or email or phone or text or face-to-face that the formal notification was off. I just I found out from another commissioner from second-handed that, he wasn't serious. He wasn't serious about that. And so I never got any memo or communication whatsoever. And now I see the request for the $33,000, and I'm just puzzled. how am I supposed to fill out a favorable performance evaluation when you just ghost me? And I haven't received a recension on this. With the hiring of the deputy city manager, you sent us a article from the Frankfurt newspaper about hiring a deputy city manager. And in this, it was kind of telling because Frankfurt said that they capped their city manager at 137. They have a population of 28,000. We have barely 21,000, and they capped their city manager at 137. The capital city of Kentucky. They hired a deputy for 135. Are you saying that if we give you the 163, you can't do the job? So you need a helper at 135? I mean, if you need a deputy, that's what the going rate is. So no, I won't vote for this. There's 10 people back there against the wall right there. They're professional, they're well-educated, they're very well-qualified department heads and superintendents that do a stellar job in providing services for our city. So I can't vote for this. The ultimatum, one builds on the other. Speech limiting ordinance, $33,000 raise, deputy city manager, that's a deal breaker for me. So I vote no.
Commissioner?
Yes, hold it just a moment. I did some research on salaries, and, Lexington with a population of 321,000 gets $105,656 a year. And somebody says that's wrong.
Not
Well-
wrong. They have a strong mayor form of government.
Okay.
The city manager
Okay.
doesn't run the city.
All right, look, Bowling Green gets $192,373, but they've got a population of 73,529. Now, Paducah, they get $165,000, and their population's 26,278. Covington gets $156,000. Their population's 40,837. Ashland, city manager makes $130,000, $203, and our population's $21,126. He originally asked for a $37,000 raise because his justification was he needed to be the highest paid employee in the city, putting him over one employee who's been here 35 years. Now, I don't mind giving the city manager a raise,
I don't either.
but and now it comes up with the number $33,000. I don't know anybody that gets a $33,000 raise. I certainly never have gotten a $33,000 raise. Anybody out there want to raise their hand? Got a $33,000 raise? It's just, and it's, how can we sustain it? I mean, we have a budget that looks huge right now because we've still got ARPA money and things in there. And then he wants this aid, which is a whole nother topic. And what if this ordinance passes and now you'll probably have to have a compliance officer somewhere? Well, that'll be the next thing. Come in here, Commissioner Spriggs, have you been talking to that employee out there? Come into my office. Let me have a little talk with you. So, no, I cannot vote for giving this kind of raise.
I'm going to give a little background here. I don't know if you've read the new language in the contract. Essentially, what I asked go in there is to put Mr. Grazy in the pay and classification plan that we did for all other employees.
You know what? City manager is not an employee. He's in a contract. He has a contract.
If we are looking at everybody who works here, police officers have contracts too, and so do firefighters. But we have to.
He is a contract
Excuse me,
employee,
Commissioner.
though. He's,
Commissioner.
I get
You've
it.
had
I've
yours.
made my point.
Let me have mine, please. Thank you. And this pay falls in line with that pay and classification plan. Also, in the last 6 years, our city employees have averaged 24.6% increase per the pay and classification plan, per cost of living. current salary, if we gave him 24.6, if we had given him a raise at all in 6 years, 161,980. I don't think what he's asking for is unreasonable. I don't think it's unreasonable to put him in this pay and classification study and pay him the salary that his position was graded at.
He had a contract and a set amount of salary, so that prohibited him from getting the raises, and you all know that. Okay. He's still a contract employee, and he doesn't get to have all of the things that the regular employees in the city have.
Commissioner Spriggs.
Because he has a contract.
If you will allow other commissioners their first
Sure.
opportunities. Thank you.
So first of all, I appreciate the citizens who spoke, brought up some good points, and thankfully, I was able to check off those points in my mind. I have looked at those things. So there actually is classifications out there for city managers, and he would fall roughly in the 75% percentile. Now, if you know Mike Gracie, you know he's a 75% percentile at least city manager. He's one of only two ICCMA, am I saying that?
CMA.
ICMA, sorry, I know. One of only two in the state. It's a big deal. I'm not going to explain it right now, but look it up. It's a big deal. When I moved back here in 2016 to Ashland. Just started to get involved in things. Mike started in 2017. I think back then and think about water. Water is a great example. Well, if anybody who's lived here any amount of years, think about what your life was like with water. Like it was who knew when you were going to lose water? I mean, it was just a thing. Like we don't even talk about that now. So that happened, and he'll be the first to tell you that wasn't Mike Gracie. All Mike Gracie, was the team. It was the team as well. The project management that I've seen over those years is I can give all these different examples that lead up to this, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who it is. I have to look at what is appropriate to, I think your point. I mentioned the 75 percentile. Commissioner Clark alluded to it, and he was a contract employee, but Mike has not received a raise since 2017. Now, that's negotiated, sure, but even though it's negotiated, there's still a cost to you. I know that as a manager. Like, I can choose to not give my employee, maybe I give them days off or something like that, but there's still going to be a cost to me for not giving that raise. It's going to come to roost at some point. And either I'm going to lose them to somebody, most likely, and then I'm going to have to pay someone that new rate. I mean, you're going to have that happen. And so Commissioner Clark also alluded to the compensation study that we had. This just very positively impacted the lives of all of our city employees. It was a big deal. It was a great achievement for everyone, and we're very proud of that. So we've taken care of, as much as we can, that aspect of things. And so if you look at that pay and compensation study and see where he falls on it, that's what's being asked here. And so, I think we just have to step back. And one last point about this is take Mike Gracie out of this. At some point we're all going to be gone, right? We're going to need a new city manager. So do we want to be competitive to get the city manager that we need to keep us going forward? I would venture to guess not too many people in here would say that we've went backwards in the last 4 years. So what do we want to do? Do we want to keep progressing? Do we want to invest in people, or do we not? So that's what it comes down to for me.
Okay. Well, I am remiss not to say that I too feel that we have moved forward as a city under Mike's leadership, but not just Mike's leadership, the leadership of the team that's sitting in the back of this room.
And the commission.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's fair that Mike mentioned that he didn't get his review on time, and that I take full responsibility for. But I also think when you look at a couple things, most people would expect the CEO of a company to make the most of anybody in the company, more than any other employee. This writes a situation too where he is not making the most money, and it adjusts the contract because, as we have said, we have given raises to every employee consistently to try to be competitive for them, whether it be the cost of living, but also to attract and attain new jobs or new employees. So with that in mind, I support this contract. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wait, hold on, the contract or the pay, is this the whole contract?
It's the employment agreement, yes.
So he'll get an automatic raise when everybody, all that other stuff that's in there, we haven't even negotiated.
All opposed?
I oppose
No.
it.
Okay.
All right. Item E, first reading and approval of an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, amending the City of Ashland Flexible Spending Plan adopted by ordinance number 86, series of 2020, as recommended by McGregor and Associates, Inc., pursuant to federal guidelines.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Wait a minute, I
No,
got
we
one
had
more.
we had a,
It's
Oh,
just in the wrong
I'm
print.
sorry. Mayor requesting the board's concurrence on the appointment of Rebecca Rohr to the Ashland Housing Authority Board to fulfill the unexpired term of Mark A. Wills, set to expire on January 1, 2027.
So moved.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd like to add one item. I'd like to revisit an item we tabled on October 26th meeting. Item E on the consent agenda was the city manager presents a request for an employee to receive back pay and an hourly increase. And I move to, make a motion, we accept that as presented.
Okay, we have a motion.
So moved.
We have a second. Any discussion?
I just want to make a note that there's a lot of details in this, and my commitment to both city manager and the employee is to talk outside of the meeting, so we can talk about the details of my vote.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye. No.
Okay. Is there any other new business? All right, so we need a motion to go into executive session for 2 disciplinary matters and then also for the evaluation of the city manager.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you all for your attendance today. Only the items in the executive session will be discussed. No matters will be voted on. It may take a little while, so I would probably advise you to
Get some
take a
lunch.
break. Yeah. listed were discussed. No action was taken. So at this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to sustain the grievance filed on employee 11/16/23 as amended orally and remove the finding of the violation of city policy and disciplinary action.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Same.
All right.
So, Mayor, as an item of new business, and this would be, entertain a motion to approve a municipal order of the City of Ashland, Kentucky, authorizing and directing the mayor to execute a severance agreement and general release between the City of Ashland, Kentucky, and Shane Cook.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll take a motion to go back into executive
Motion to
session.
return to executive session for the purpose of the city manager's evaluation.
We have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll return to executive session. All right, let the record reflect we've returned from executive session. No action was taken. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
When's the next meeting?